Chapter 25. Opening the Boundary. Under Qin Zibai's brazen palm, the boundary of Kaogwo City immediately cracked countless times, as if it was about to shatter. The destruction of the country is today. Everyone was anxious. Even Shangwan Trace had an ugly look on his face. Is the city about to break at this moment? Bingji looked towards the distant Great Brightness King God, but how could the Great Brightness King God help? Yet, while everyone was worried, Gu Hai stepped forward. Great Han Dynasty people, the original Shenlu Dynasty people, Gu Hai is not talented. And then finally borrowed the old idea of Wangfu Kaoj. I implore you, lend me the power to defend the 24 cities now. I have promised to give all of you, do not lose the Shenlu when the serenity and tranquility, but need all of you and me to work together. Today's battle, the decision of life and death. Success. The country will be prosperous and peaceful. If we lose, we will become slaves. Great Han people, you do not bear me. I will not bear you. The king has no words. Please help me. Gu Hai opened his mouth and drank aloud. Boom. The Che Yun Hai instantly transmitted the sound to the ears of all the people of Great Han. On 9-5 Island, all the 10,000 people naturally raised their hands. In Kaoj City, the people also raised their right hands and lent their power to Gu Hai. The other 11 cities and pools originally gifted to Gu Hai by Wangfu Kaoj, the people thought a little and most of them also raised their hands, one after another. Only the 12 cities and pools that had just been seized, only a small half of the people raised their hands. However, the 12 city lords were the first to come forward, constantly calling on the people of the entire city to raise their hands through the amplified sound array to lend their support to Gu Hai. After all, for a group of officials, once Great Han died, their own power was also lost. Maybe they miss Wangfu Kaoj. Maybe Gu Hai's words moved the people. Maybe they don't want to be slaves again. One after another, the people raised their hands. Rumble. One by one, the whole body power of the people slowly surged towards Kaoj City and poured into Gu Hai through the Che Yun Hai. Rumble. A rolling chair explosion blossomed around Gu Hai. It kicked up a gale, and the surrounding officials were forced to retreat. In the past, Wangfu Kaoj had mobilized the power of a country and was able to block King Lu Yong, who seemed to be a bit more powerful than Qin Zibai when he was in full victory. At this moment, the power that Gu Hai received was naturally not as much as Wangfu Kaoj's back then, but it was still 60% of what it was back then. Roles of power converged, and a general flame of energy emerged from Gu Hai's body. Outside the city, Qin Zibai slapped his third palm between glares. Boom! With a loud bang, the powerful boundary guarding the city was shattered by Qin Zibai's palm, and the enormous power that shook the entire Kaoj city rolled up in a rolling storm in general. Ha ha ha, mobilizing a country's power. Gu Hai, you're not even close. Qin Zibai laughed coldly. Rumble. Beneath Gu Hai's feet, a mountain peak rose abruptly. However, it was the Earth's dragon vein that held Gu Hai up and quickly headed out of the city. Whether it's worse or not, only if you compare it will you know, Qin Zibai. The people of Great Han already have the hearts of the people like iron. The people can lend me their strength. You won't be able to take away any of the cities in Great Han, Gu Hai said in a cold voice. The mountain peak held Gu Hai quickly to the outside of the city. Gu Hai's aura around him also kept surging upwards, the storm around him getting bigger and bigger. When he arrived at the open land outside the city, Gu Hai's chair flame had reached its peak. A great power was emitted, and the surrounding area was suddenly filled with flying sand on top of the floating island in the city. Great Ming King God coldly said, Qin Zibai, the first time to enter the Middle Heavenly Palace. Gu Hai adjusted the momentum of a country in the Great Han. Unfortunately, only half of your people to give you the power, and its heart is not sincere. now the power to reach the peak of the lower heavenly palace, but cannot be further advanced than Qin Bai, is still a little bit poorer. The Great Han. Your footsteps are too fast. Qin Bai also arrived opposite Gu Hai. Gu Hai, you want to fight me personally? My Yuan soldier captives, yet you don't use them to threaten me. Qin Bai said in a cold voice. Do threats work? I am the one who kills 1,000,000 Yuan soldier captives. Will your heart fluctuate even a little bit? Gu Hai sneered. No, Qin Bai coldly said. Since it won't, then why bother threatening you with them? Having me is enough, Gu Hai said coldly. You're stronger than Huangfu Keoj. He can be an enemy of the world for the sake of love and justice. You, on the other hand, have an imperial aura and can be an enemy of the world due to self-will. I will leave you a whole body, Qin Bai said in a cold voice. You think I'll lose just like that? Gu Hai revealed a cold smile. With a flip of his hand, the blood knife appeared steeply in Gu Hai's hand. The blood knife had an increasing effect on Gu Hai's strength. Grabbing the blood knife, Gu Hai's strength steeply climbed some more. Humph! Qin Bai raised an eyebrow and flipped his hand. Who are you? Qin Bai also suddenly grabbed a blood knife in his hand, which was exactly the same shape as the one in Gu Hai's hand. Gu Hai frowned. An imitation blade of the blood prison. I have one too. Let's see if yours is superior or mine. Qin Bai let out a cold snort. The two blood knives chopped down near simultaneously. Steeply, the bloodlight of the two swords rushed into the sky, and the entire heaven and earth were instantly dyed red. Two huge blood-colored rainbows were seen crashing face to face. Boom. Tilde 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 tilde. Where the daggers of the two blood daggers were, they immediately collided into a huge storm, which rushed straight to the Chaogong city, and instantly the city wall, which had lost its boundary, blew down a large portion of the city. Rumble, there was chaos all around. On top of the bloody blades, it was as if there were veins, all bulging out. Gu Hai and Qin Bai both had grimaces on their faces. The two of them, nearly all of them, poured their strength into their respective blood knives. In the midst of his grimace, a cold sweat broke out on Gu Hai's forehead. Qin Bai's eyelids fluttered furiously. Your blood knife is actually more refined than mine, more like the blood prison. It can give you a greater power increase. However, your power, in the end, is inferior to mine, and mobilizing a country's momentum also a little bit inferior. Give me a break. Gu Hai also roared with a scowl on his face. Boom. The place where the two blades collided abruptly exploded with countless blood mists, and as the blood mists exploded, Qin Bai and Gu Hai's figures all gave a lurch, but neither of them took a step back. Qin Bai's blood knife had an opening on it, while Gu Hai's blood knife was completely blown up. The blood mist that filled the sky just now was Gu Hai's blood knife exploding into pieces. I told you. Now, you don't even have the blood prison imitation knife that can increase your power. What else can you take to fight me? Qin Bai laughed coldly. Shangguan Scar, Gao Xianzi and the others all revealed a worried look. After all, how many times had this blood blade brought Gu Hai victory over the strong with the weak? But at this moment, the blood blade had shattered as well. Great brightness, King God! Bingji anxiously roared at the distant Daming King God. The Great Brightness King God, however, lethargically leaned his back on a stone pillar in the pavilion, revealing a cold smile and said, Isn't Gu Hai to knives? After breaking one, there's still one left. The Great Brightness King God just wasn't willing to make a move. Bingji was anxious for a while, two blades. But it seems like the only one that can increase its power is the blood blade. Sure enough, but she saw Gu Hai's left hand covering his chest with a wide sleeve, and his right hand pulling out the absolute life blade from his chest. Buzz. The moment the absolute life blade came out, it exuded an eerie cold aura. Bone knife, I've heard that you have an evil blade, but this evil blade, apart from being able to emit a bit of black gas, can it be compared to the Blood Prison's imitation blade? At our current strength, is this black aura still useful? Some little skeletons coming out of it. Oh, come on, let me chop it up, Qin Zibai said in a cold voice. Gu Hai took out the absolute life blade and stared at Qin Zibai dead in the face as he laughed coldly. That's right. It's true that the absolute life blade can't increase my power. But that's because it hasn't been opened yet. Qin Zibai frowned slightly, revealing a hint of doubt. Unsealed, just this bone-breaking blade. There are still countless cracks on it. So what's the point of talking about opening it? If it could be opened, wouldn't you have opened it already? Why wait until now? However, he saw that Gu Hai's left hand grasped the absolute life knife, but his right hand was suddenly wiped from the hilt to the tip of the knife. Wiped all the way through. The cracks on the bone knife were recovering at a strange speed. Gu Hai was using the heaven-mending force to mend the absolute life blade. In the distance, the great brightness king god steeply stood up straight, finally moving. As the cracks on the absolute life blade were repaired by Gu Hai, the absolute life blade steeply exuded a soul-stirring power. Even as strong as Qin Zibai, his heart and soul were abruptly shaken, and his mind was dazzled, as if the bone blade in front of him was the most evil thing in the world, creating an evil spiritual world, and a piercing coldness came straight to the three souls. What kind of knife is this? Qin Zibai said in shock. The name of the blade, Absolute Life. Gu Hai gripped the handle with both hands and slashed towards Qin Zibai with a roar. A knife chopped out, as if an infinite black mist came out of nowhere, instantly shrouding the heaven and earth. Everything was pitch black. Only the white, translucent absolute life knife in the center remained, transforming into a heavenly brand new, chopping over towards Qin Zibai. HMPH. Qin Zibai let out a cold snort as the blood knife in his hand blasted out. The two knives collided with a loud bang. Their Jin. The blood knife was very easily chopped in half, as if there was nothing in the world that could stop the absolute life knife. The blood knife that chopped off Qin Zibai instantly chopped towards Qin Zibai. What? Qin Zibai's face changed. A threat of death instantly enveloped his entire body. He didn't even bother to resist anymore. His body swayed and retreated backwards towards the back. Boom! The absolute life blade chopped through, and the blackness of the void suddenly disappeared, once again regaining its brightness. Who? Gu Hai gasped a few times, just now catalyzing the absolute life blade instantly drained half of the power that the people had lent themselves. Gu Hai's power had steeply dropped by a large margin. Sure enough, the complete absolute life blade was not yet something he could manage. After a slash, the absolute life blade once again returned to being flat, and the cracks that were originally on it sprang up once again. Gu Hai's face sank. Earlier, when he had mended the absolute life blade, the heaven-mending power stored in his body had been consumed almost instantly. Could it be that just now, he had only mended an illusion? If he wanted to mend all of it, he would still need endless heaven-mending power to do so. Grasping the absolute life blade, Gu Hai looked up towards Qin Zibai. However, he saw that Qin Zibai had already retreated 20 miles away, and the clothes on his body were all chopped off by the blade. Even the blade was so sharp that even Qin Zibai's hair was mostly chopped off. The blood prison imitation sword grasped in his right hand also only had a hilt left. The left hand grasped a shield that was also chopped in half. Gu Hai's face was gloomy, but Qin Zibai was in a cold sweat. Almost, he was chopped in half by that absolute life knife.